You're listening to the Health and Happiness Podcast with Travis Kemper and
Lauren Maxwell. Each episode, we share easy to implement strategies to improve your health, happiness, and overall quality of life.
Education is what remains after one has forgotten what one has learned in school. Albert Einstein. How's it going, Lauren?
That's going good, Trav. I just got done with my first ever teaching experience these last couple of days at NAU. It came up quick. I feel like I just brought it up on the podcast, and now
You did just bring it up. I feel like we just talked about that like 2 weeks ago, that it was a thing.
Yeah.
And now you're already doing it. How did it go?
Now it's over. It went really well, actually.
How did it go? Now it's over.
It went really well. I was really excited. Today was like the scariest part because I actually had like a lecture that I was leading. Yesterday I was just like helping out with a lab, which is like doing my job. So like that's really easy. But today I actually had a lecture and was like teaching, and it was scary, but it was really good. And I think everybody was like stoked about what we learned today and had lots of questions, which was really fun. So I'm a little brain fried, but that's okay. We're just going to try to not say anything too dumb. How's it going, Travis?
Good. I just got back from a hike with Duke, and we had a trainer come over yesterday. So Duke is going to be in homeschool for a while.
I love it. How did it go with his trainer, Trav?
Good. Duke's super smart. So he really picked things up way faster than I would have.
Way faster than I would have.
But we've got some work to do. It's basically, Julia and I have to do the work, and then Duke will get it. But I tried to do some on the hike today, and that was too much, too fast. Duke's not ready for hike training. He's barking into the air, and he's got really important things to do, like becoming a whale in the snow and rolling around and trying to make himself stink or whatever the heck he's trying to do. Yeah, there's too many distractions out there. So he's doing really well with the training in the house, though.
Nice. Are you working on like recall and stuff, or like what specifically?
Yeah, stuff. Recall and just obedience.
Okay.
Not like we want him to be super duper obedient. Like I don't want him to be a police.
Still want him to be a dog. Yeah.
I want him to be a dog, but we would like for him not to try and kill people or look like he's trying to kill people to come in the house.
Yeah.
So that's part of it. So like the sit and like remain sitting until I tell you can go type thing. Come, and then down and remain down. So like lying. But like I said, he did amazing yesterday. So Duke follows us everywhere we go. So yesterday when we did some of the training, I made him sit, and then I walked up the stairs and he stayed sitting downstairs waiting for me.
Wow.
So yeah, exactly. Like this trainer is really good.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So anyway, Lauren, what are we going to talk about today?
We are going to talk about homeschooling versus public schooling. So nice segue, Travis, with Duke being homeschooled. So why are we going to talk about this? Well, happier and healthier students are important too. And happier, healthier students probably make happier, healthier adults. I don't think too many parents would argue with their kids' happiness being important, right?
I wouldn't think so either. So what makes success in a school or a school system? For me, like, I don't think there's any real literature to describe this success, but there certainly is, because we all measure the same things in every different country and every different state, and we compare. But for me, at a very basic level of success in education, you have to be able to read effectively and efficiently. Your students, I should say, have to be able to read effectively and efficiently. Good basic math skills. I don't need calculus, but I'll tell you what, I use math every day of the week. Critical thinking, that would be another one. Yeah, and a basic understanding of science and the scientific method. At the very least, these are the minimum requirements to say that you have a successful education program I think. Anything you agree or disagree with me there on?
No, I agree with all of that. I think like those are things we use every day.
Yeah, exactly. The things that you need to use every day. So, how do the US schools do? This is going to hurt some feelings potentially. According to the US Department of Education, 54% of adults aged 16 to 74 years old, about 130 million people, lack proficiency in reading and literacy, and they are below the equivalent of a sixth grade reading level. 54% of US adults read below a sixth grade reading level. 21% of adults are illiterate or functionally illiterate. So I have brought this up before with patients and things, and they'll be like, well, yeah, well, we have a lot of illegal immigration and things like that, and we can't expect them to be able to read. And actually, that's a pretty good argument. The problem is 21% of US adults are illiterate or functionally illiterate, and 19% of high school graduates can't read. Not 19% of high school students, 19% of high school graduates cannot read.
Sheesh.
Yeah. So in 2013, the Department of Education's National Center for Education Statistics released the initial results of an international survey of adult skills in literacy and mathematics, and they found that Americans ranked 21st in numeracy, that would be basic math skills, and are tied for 15th in literacy among adults in 23 advanced economies. Meaning
21st out of 23.
21 out of 23 in math and 15 out of 23 in literacy. That is not good.
Not good.
So why are these things important? I mean, I don't think we really have to make an argument for why these things are important, but we're going to anyway. According to the Department of Justice, the link between academic failure and delinquency, violence, and crime is welding. That was an interesting word choice. To reading failure. Statistics back up this claim. 85% of all juveniles who interface with the juvenile court system are functionally illiterate. 85%, Lauren, and over 70% of inmates in America's prisons cannot read beyond a fourth grade reading level.
Holy cow.
Yeah, so basically, if your education system fails, your prison system will thrive as America's does, because people that can't read end up in jail. It's really sad.
That's really sad.
Yeah, it's really sad because it's like the most important thing. And education of children, I would say, is the most important thing in a society.
I agree.
I think it would be very hard to make an argument against that. At least it's in the top 3, and I don't know what the other 2 would be.
Right.
But I'll leave a room for an argument. Room for an argument there. So, Lauren, we're talking about homeschooling. Why would parents choose to homeschool their children?
Yeah, so there's lots of reasons for homeschooling. For one, you can customize or individualize the curriculum and learning environment for each child. You can accomplish more academically than in schools. We'll actually go through a whole academic section later that compares homeschools to institutional schools. You can use pedagogical approaches other than those typical in institutional schools. Pedagogical approaches meaning different teaching methods and strategies.
Thanks, Lauren.
I liked that word. I'm sorry. That was when my brain was higher functioning when I wrote that. You can enhance family relationships between children and parents and among siblings. It can provide guided and reasoned social interactions with youthful peers and adults. You can provide a safer environment for children and youth. One of the statistics we found, or one of the research articles we read, said that homeschoolers are not being educationally deprived, maltreated, or abused. On the contrary, the research literature suggests that rates of abuse, such as physical, sexual abuse, and neglect, are lower among homeschoolers than institutionally schooled children, which is crazy. Like, that's a huge thing.
Yeah, and in that they kind of reference some news type stuff, like some fear factor type stuff where they'll find the one homeschooled kid who was abused and they'll be like, this is why you should send your kids to school. So yeah, they like to, twist shit.
Sure.
Excuse me. They like to twist stuff.
Yeah. It can be used as an alternate education approach when public or private institutional schools are closed due to acute health situations such as COVID.
Yeah, I would like to add here that I don't think that this year's homeschooled kids are going to newly homeschooled kids are necessarily going to outperform because you kind of forced it on them. It wasn't a choice.
It wasn't a planned thing. Everybody just had to figure it out, and that's
right.
Different. That's different than making a thoughtful choice to homeschool your children. It can also, you can teach and impart a particular set of values, beliefs, and worldview to children and youth. So we found a blog from a person who had a homeschool experience, and there was just a couple of stuff that I wanted to highlight that she said that I thought explained these like set of reasons that you could choose homeschool really nicely. So she said that homeschooling allowed her parents to choose the curriculum and how they teach it. For example, her parents were firm believers in educational traveling, which is awesome. She was able to travel to many countries where she learned about different cultures and gained real world experiences that she would not have had in a classroom. She also talks about how homeschooling allowed her parents to focus on her specific talents and interests to teach other subjects, which highly valuable. So for example, she was able to draw pictures in science class since she was far more interested in art than in science, but she was able to use her interests and what she loved to learn the science curriculum. She still had the same curriculum. She just was able, like I said, different pedagogical methods, different styles of teaching you can implement to better match the student.
You really like that word.
I love that word.
So how common is homeschooling? In 2020 to 2021, the numbers went way up. 3.7 million homeschool students in grades K through 12 in the United States. In 2019, there was 2.5 million. It actually looks like it's going to continue to go up from the things that I've seen when we were doing research for this. The homeschool population has been growing at an estimated 2 to 8% per year over the past 7 years, but grew drastically from 2019 on, mostly because of COVID. And then, I think, people saw the problems with internet schooling that they were trying out with the school systems. And they're like, I'm pretty sure I can do better than your Zoom call.
Virtual school is really tough.
Yeah. So, and in the teachers' defense on that one, the teachers were not planning on doing virtual school either.
God, no.
So that's
everybody was just trying to do the best that they could given the situation that they had. But oh my gosh, virtual school is hard.
Yeah, it would kill me right there. I would tap out. So academics. The home educated typically score 15 to 30 percentile points above public school students on standardized achievement tests. These results cut across racial and socioeconomic lines. Lauren, when I first read this, I thought it was like 15 to 30 points better on the SAT. And I was like, that's really not that big of a deal. And then I used my brain and saw it. And it's honestly, and I think part of the reason that I didn't understand what 15 to 30 percentile points was when I first glanced at it was because it's almost unfathomable. The difference is
it's a huge difference.
Yeah, It's going from a 60th percentile student, which would mean you're doing better than 60% of kids, to a 75th to 90th percentile student because you're homeschooled.
That is huge. Yeah, I like that you put it in those terms because I feel like 15 to 30 percentile points is hard to imagine, but you know what like 60% jump to a 75 to 90 percentile looks like. Like you can
Right.
picture that.
Yes, yes, especially if your kid just took the whatever, ours were the PSATs or something.
Yeah.
I forget what it was. No, PSAT was not it, but whatever your state's
Oh, like the Ames
test. Yes, Ames was Arizona's.
Yeah.
I forget what ours was called. It wasn't PSAT. That was a different thing.
That's different thing.
Yeah, but they give you the scores in percentiles on those tests generally. At least they did in Pennsylvania.
Mm-hmm.
So one thing that they found regarding educational attainment was that there may be a disadvantage for homeschooling. This is how they worded it. They found that homeschoolers were 23% less likely to go to college than students in public schools, and they took that as you're losing out. They made a hypothesis. They don't have anything to back this up, but their hypothesis was that the lower attainment or interest in attending college may be a result of admissions policies at some U.S. universities that disadvantaged the homeschool students. Like I said, they didn't have any evidence to back that up. Mm-hmm. My initial thought, as a person who has been looking at this, is like, okay, if I have kids, this is definitely going to be something that I investigate and look into very closely. My initial thought was that homeschool kids didn't have college beat into their brains the way that you and I did, going to public schools as the only way to be successful. And they may have gone different routes due to that. We do have a little evidence to back that up in the fact that studies have shown that homeschooled kids are more likely to be self-employed adults.
Yeah.
We also found there's substantial evidence that says homeschoolers typically have higher GPAs than the rest of their class in college. So if they do go to college, they generally outperform public school kids. Well, all of this is great, Lauren, but we all know homeschooled kids are weird, right?
Yeah, a common misconception is that homeschool students don't get as many social opportunities as institutionally school students, meaning that they're like more socially awkward, or that's what we assume, and like don't really know how to be around other people and like do like typical kid stuff or whatever. But research on homeschooling shows that the home educated are doing well and actually typically above average on measures of social, emotional, and psychological development. So that includes peer interaction, self-concept, leadership skills, family cohesion, and participation in community service and self-esteem. Homeschool students are regularly engaged in social and educational activities outside their homes and with people other than their nuclear family members. They're commonly involved in activities such as field trips, scouting, 4-H, political drives, church ministry, sports teams, and other community volunteer work. So, Travis, how do homeschooled kids fare as adults?
Well, 69% of peer-reviewed studies on success into adulthood, including college, show adults who were home educated succeed and perform statistically significantly better than those who attended institutional schools. They participate in local community service groups, they vote more frequently, they attend public meetings, and they succeed at college at a higher rate compared to the general population. A growing body of research indicates that graduates of home-based education excel. 11 of the 16 peer-reviewed studies on success into adulthood showed that homeschoolers had better results for political tolerance, college GPA, and college retention than students in conventional schools. So in summary, they have higher GPAs, they're more politically tolerant, they're more agreeable and conscientious, they have a more positive college experience, and they're more likely to be self-employed. Lauren, that sounds pretty good.
I feel like we've talked about a lot of the benefits of being homeschooled, a lot of which, to be honest, I didn't really know. I hadn't looked it up before, so I guess how would I know? But I
Right.
guess I was that person who were like, homeschooled kids are weird, right? But in conclusion, they're not. And a recent article from two Harvard researchers suggests that homeschooled kids are healthier, happier, and more virtuous than public school graduates.
Awesome. Well, we don't really have a challenge for you today. Just, if you had thought about homeschool, I guess, maybe think about it again. Um, if you have kids or are going to have kids, and yeah, have a great day. Great job today.
Great job, Chad. This was fun.
Thanks, everybody, and we'll talk to you next week.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for taking the time out of your busy day to listen to this episode of the Health and Happiness Podcast. We hope you enjoyed the episode and are getting benefits from our content.
If your life is improving in part due to the information in this podcast, we would greatly appreciate you sharing the episode with your family and friends on social media and leaving us a review so we can continue to reach more people and improve the health and happiness of the community at large.
Thanks again, and we will see you next week for another episode of the Health and Happiness Podcast.